You let one ant stand up to us, then they all might stand up. Those puny little ants outnumber us 100 to 1. And if they ever figure that out, there goes our way of life. It's not about food. It's about keeping those ants in line. That's why we're going back. Does anybody else want to stay? Let's ride!
Good evening, everybody. It's 7 o'clock, and at 7 o'clock, there's only one place you should ever be. Right here, hanging out with the guy that's been doing it for 20 years. At the same time, same bat channel. It's good to have you all here again. And it's Monday. We're kicking this one off with as much grace as we can manage. I've got two great guests coming on we haven't spoken to in a little while. Rich Baris is on the first half of the show, and the second half, Jason Bermas. So I like doing a little bit of a news roundup over the weekend. I think there's a lot of news kicking around that these two guys can bring their very special blend of commentary and focus to, especially when we talk about things like all of the renewed Epstein roller coaster stuff and a whole bunch else. But I'm wishing everything well by you guys. It was a nice weekend. It really was. Got a lot of work done, but here we are, back at the grind. And greetings to you all out there on November 17th, 2025, whether you're watching on Quite Frankly.tv, that's pilled.net, Rumble or YouTube or Twitter, DLive, Kick. Of course, this is now the second full week that we're starting with our Instagram audience. Good to see everybody on Instagram Live and DLive. I probably said that before, but I'll say it again. Anyway, good to have you guys here. A couple things before we get started real quick. I'm going to be giving away the jean jacket and the 2017 my band's album, and the Flip City magazine, and Molly Arty's portrait of me and all that stuff. The drawing is going to be tomorrow, and you can get in on that and also support the show and send me some thoughts and add it to your thoughts and, prayers to the record by dropping a super chat sometime tonight. Quite frankly, superchat.com. The YouTube super chats, there's Rumble rants and gold pills. Get at it. And another thing, ladies and gentlemen, let us know where you're at. Let's do a roll call and just tell everybody where you're at right now. Where is it that you're coming from? Drop your home state or your country or your city in the chat room. You don't leave your social security out, but roll call. Let everybody know where you're from so everybody can see how far the reach is tonight. And that's what we have. A little bit more of that. A lot of fun stuff happening tonight, and it's going to kick off in just a second. So let me get to something else. I had this. Where the hell is it? It's right here. I heard that Spotify, I'm having a lot of problems with Spotify because I don't think they're a real company, though they're very big and they control a lot of money. I actually don't even know if they really are as worth as much as they say they are. I think that the money that they gave to Joe Rogan must be deferred or something like that. Spotify has updated. They're so retarded. Spotify has updated its shuffle feature. It doesn't shuffle. Anybody who uses this knows. I only started using it because it's become a formidable podcast delivery system, and we were on there, and I just wanted to make sure that so I said, you know what? Let me start making some playlists that are directly correlated with everything that we do on the show, because people find each other through Spotify playlists, and we made playlists for every season. And I mean, we had the mixtape first, and then when we launched the bulletin, that's when we started doing the seasonal playlists. Anyway, I lost access to that account because of our copyright issues. I was trying to get in touch with somebody well before the termination happened so I can reset the archive of the show. And I would just at that point, before we had all of our copyright-free music injected into the mix, I was going to just cut out all the music and then upload it when I got home at night. That didn't happen because they don't have human beings working there. There are no human beings that work at Spotify. None. All their AI lie, like many people do. They don't have chat support anymore. You can be paying $25 a month. There's no customer support. Nothing. Either you're just a music consumer or a podcaster, whatever the hell it is that you're using their service, there's no support. And the robots they have helping you lie about them being robots. Anyway, another thing that they don't do right, aside from everything, is something that was so basic. So it was mastered so many years ago that Apple actually made an iPod called the Shuffle that did nothing but just shuffle. There's no other options. They don't know how to do that. If you have a 350 track playlist on Amazon, you're listening to the same 20 songs over and over again. It's so frustrating. Anyway, they have updated the shuffle feature, giving users the option to choose between standard and fewer repeats mode. Fewer repeats mode. So instead of actually just fixing the shuffle, they give you this deep settings option. It's ridiculous. Who wants to hear repeats on a shuffle? So they're stupid. You know, some companies are allowed to survive through their mistakes. Everybody else, you make a mistake and it's just you're losing your shirt. I just can't. I don't know. There has to be another thing. There has to be other things keeping these companies afloat. They're so fucking dysfunctional and stupid. So stupid. But that's that. Just wanted to throw that out there. Oh, here's I want you to listen to this. So Donald Trump was pressed on Tucker Carlson talking to Nick Fuentes. This is still literally the only thing for weeks now that people in the neocon, neolib section of the media, both on television and otherwise, this is all they talk about. This is like a 5-alarm fire. I think the good thing is that the more they squeal about this, the more we realize nobody cares. And that is great for us and even more distressing for them. Take a listen to this. I think that the way that Trump handled this line of persistent questioning was pretty great.
We may add a rant to the formula, yeah.
Mr. President, Tucker Carlson recently had a friendly interview with anti-Semite Nick Fuentes. Tucker Carlson. What role do you think Tucker Carlson should play?
I had to put that out there. He was talking to anti-Semite Nick Fuentes. It's like saying Mr. these days. It's like saying Mr., Esquire. Yes, so-and-so, anti-Semite.
Play in the Republican Party, the conservative movement going forward.
Well, I found him to be good. I mean, he said good things about me over the years. I think he's good. We've had some good interviews. I did an interview with him. We had 300 million hits. You know that. Look, I can't tell him. Will you let me finish my statement? You are the worst. You're with Bloomberg, right? You are the worst. I don't know why they even have you.
Yappy little Bloomberg dog. I don't even know why they have you. I don't know either. Keep going because they're trying to no, stay on topic, Mr. President. Nick Fuentes, anti-Semite, like James Bond moving into a room.
We've had some great interviews with Tucker Carlson, but you can't tell him who to interview. I mean, if he wants to interview Nick Fuentes, I don't know much about him, but if he wants to do it, get the word out. Let him. People have to decide. Ultimately, people have to decide. The mayor of New York, I will say, would like to... Great stuff right there. Yeah. Let people talk to you because that's like American. One of those American things that we do. People can talk to whoever they want, but this is not... No, off limits. And then he pivots to something that's going on in New York. And then, of course, they want to bring him back. They want to bring him back and remind him that he had, dinner or lunch or something like Thanksgiving dinner with Nick Fuentes. And they just wanted to remind him of that because they can't let it go. They're there for one reason. To meet with us and we'll work something out. but he would like to come to Washington and meet, and we'll work something out. We want to see everything work out well for New York.
You yourself had dinner with Nick Fuentes at Mar-a-Lago a few years ago. What role should he play in the conservative movement?
Well, I didn't know he was coming, and he was with, as you know, somebody.
What role should he play? I don't. What role should anybody play in the conservative movement? I just can't stand the way that all these things are even phrased. What role does it? Go ahead, go talk about it. Talk about what role do you think anti-Semite Nick Fuentes should play? Bond, anti-Semite Bond. I could just see James Bond moving into a room. Yes, that's anti-Semite Bond right there. Anyway, you know what? Let's bring on Rich Baris. He's the director at Big Data Poll, the People's Pundit himself. Find him on Locals. He's got a wonderful broadcast. I watch as much as I can, and I swear there's never a night that I'm ever disappointed by a visit from Rich Baris. Rich, how you feeling tonight?
I'm doing all right, brother. I was just getting ready to share. I didn't even see you. I heard you, but, you know, how's it going?
Oh, it's going just fine. You know, I got to just bring this up right off the bat. I was watching this video of the press kind of like pestering Donald Trump about Tucker Carlson and Nick Fuentes, which is now weeks old. And I just got to say, Rich, we had an actual assassination happen this year. Yeah. And the reaction, the neolib neocon reaction to Tucker Carlson merely sitting down with Nick Fuentes is almost as severe as a death. Like, what the hell is this? It's ridiculous.
Well, to be fair, Frank, there's a lot going on that the average, person or consumer that sits home, and is on social media or even follows podcasts, they don't really see happening and they don't see what's going on. I think there's a few reasons why Tucker, has been a target here. One, obviously, is that they clearly timed that interview before the Republican Jewish Coalition Conference, which was a troll. They did that on purpose. I mean, obviously, Frank, and they fell for it. So, Nick is something the right was going to have to grapple with. The attempt, honestly, it's very much reminds me of, and I don't want to draw the wrong comparison here, but just hear me out. There have been a lot of people who have been, screaming at their, in microphones for years, but they haven't really resulted in anyone's life being made better. And there's been a lot of dissatisfaction with the moves the Trump administration has made, including among MAGA. And he saw an opening and he took it. And the reaction by the people who were trying to keep him down, because, of course, Tucker's been a target of theirs for a while, it's like PR 101. It's the exact opposite of what you should have done. And they did it, creating more sympathy for him and more hate for themselves. And that's just, I fear that this is the direction we're going in anyway, Frank, because there's a growing constituency that feels they're not being heard, and they're simply flirting with new voices. They're not anti-Semitic, the vast majority of people who watch Nick Fuentes. They're looking for somebody who's finally going to do something. And that's why, making sure the Trump administration stayed on point should have been priority number one for the right, because the consequences of Trump failing are cataclysmic. I mean, politically speaking, and just for our society, they're it's Armageddon, Frank. I mean, there's nowhere else to go except for extreme voices and left-wing fanaticism, which is always sold as populism, but isn't, turns into communism, which eventually turns into democide and a bunch of dead people. That's where this ends. If I know it sounds so dire, but it's true. And Tucker got wrapped up in it because this is an old story that's been developing behind the scenes for months now, Frank. I mean, when Trump got in office, unlike last time, these anti-MAGA forces on the right, last time they just pulled their mask off and they stayed anti-MAGA, and they always revealed who they were. This time they tried to co-opt Trump's administration, and they've been pretty successful, honestly. They have been, but they didn't get what they really wanted. And that was the acceleration of interventions in the Middle East and in Eastern Europe. And Tucker was a big part of that. And so was Charlie, who's dead now. So this is a real problem for the right. Um, but they feel they need to get rid of him to ensure that JD Vance does not become the standard bearer after Donald Trump. So this is something that's like it's not that complicated. It's just that it's been going on behind the scenes, and there are a lot of very, very dishonest people pretending it's about something else. It's not. It's about foreign policy.
I've actually seen this happening with you too. You've almost been. I mean, you've been screaming out that there's some danger here, and of course, it doesn't come without derision. And doesn't come without people saying that you're overreacting or that you're just doom and gloom or whatever the hell it is. What do you think the biggest threat? Because I know that whenever you deliver news that you think is going to be uncomfortable for people to hear, it's never coming from a standpoint of wanting Trump or anybody in his position to fail. But what do you think the biggest danger to him has been that he has fallen victim to? That you're thinking?
His own administration. The right failing is not coming from the left. Democrats are not beating the right. The liberal media is not beating the right. They've been beating themselves, and it's not been one thing. There's been a series of missteps and a series of mistakes, especially in the priorities that the administration has demonstrated to the public, is at the top of their list. And they just didn't want to listen. And for all this, it doesn't come without criticism. I remember a lot of this feels very much like the COVID era, Frank. I mean, I was one of very few voices who said, forget about what you think the polls say right now, because the truth is everyone pretends like they're experts and most people have no idea what they're talking about. I don't care what the polls say right now or what you think they say right now. I'm telling you what they're going to say 3 months from now, 6 months from now, and this will cost Trump his presidency. There's a lot of new people in MAGA that are new, and that's great. But or they pretend to be MAGA, but they're new and that's great. But they don't understand this game. Like the Epstein files was one of the most predictable, humiliating defeats Donald Trump has had, and it's been in the making for months. And there are those people out there seriously pretending as if Donald Trump did this and had a change of heart because he was playing some 4D chess game. No, he wasn't. He was outmaneuvered by Congress, and he only put that out on Truth because he was facing the very next day a pretty widespread revolt in his own conference. They were going to bypass leadership, use the petition process, and it was going to the floor anyway. He spent months trying to convince lawmakers, particularly leaning on like Boebert and MTG, which is a disaster for the right. This fight, it's a disaster. But they leaned on these lawmakers as hard as they could. They drug Boebert in the other day into the Situation Room, tried to get her because she was a critical vote to change her vote, and she wouldn't. She wouldn't. And the reason why is because of the victims. And Nancy Mace signed on. You could say what you will about Nancy Mace, but she feels an affinity to this, Frank. She's a victim of sexual assault. She feels an affinity toward these women. And she feels like somebody should have a voice for these women. So,
well, let me ask you about that,
because it's easy too, very easy to avoid this disaster. They just didn't want to listen again. That's the right's biggest problem. They're in a bubble.
That right there. Let's talk about that real quick, because then I want to get to something else. I want to see how people are. There's also economic and I guess it's immigration, the work visas, student visas, all those things. That was confusing to a lot of people too. And of course, there are voices that say, no, you're not seeing the big picture. But I don't care about the big picture anymore. I want things cleaned out, and I just, I don't know.
Excuses are pathetic. Just give me a break. It was never 600,000. That's a number the president made up himself during the negotiations. It is absolutely false that if we don't bring in 600,000 Chinese nationals, higher education is going to collapse, Frank. It's come on. I am not capable, and I think that a lot of people misunderstand what I do. And I guess I'm going to educate a lot of them right now. I am not capable of jumping through hoops, like moral hoops and intellectual pretzels, putting myself in these pretzels in order to support somebody. That's not my job. I'm a public opinion pollster. I convey public opinion. I analyze it. I tell you what I think is going to happen. And I've been more right than I've ever been wrong. I'm not your buddy. I'm not here to be your friend to your movement. I'm here to be a friend to the American voter. That is who I represent. That is who I care about. That's who I'm loyal to. So if you at all thought that maybe I was something, you believe the headlines from Newsweek that I'm Trump's favored pollster? Bull. We're just a poll that was fair to him because the American voter deserved that. So when you come out now on the ass end of the polling, you should probably pay attention because that is the fatal flaw, politically fatal, gotta watch what you say these days, that Democrats made. They thought they could just gaslight everybody, stay in their little bubble, listen to their little sycophants, and nothing was going to happen. That's if the right wants to do that, they're going to put us in a much worse place than we were after after Biden handed the reins to Donald Trump.
Well, then you gotta explain something. Well, I mean, I guess you have to let me know how you're taking this, because in the second half, I've got Jason Bermas coming on, who's also very, very on top of the Epstein timelines and stuff. And I'm curious what he thinks too. But with you, I don't know what people are saying. When I see this, we got nothing to hide, release it all now, I don't care. I mean, I say to myself, well, really, wasn't that as simple as it always was? Why the pit? And when, and I've seen it too. Oh, and I wondered, is this the boom? The first thing I asked myself, is it a trap laid? Is it a boomerang? You take a couple of months off and you let Democrats build up demand for what will be their own demise and all that stuff. But no. I would believe that if it wasn't for that pit stop along the way.
It's not true. It's just not true. He did everything in his power to prevent these things from coming out. I mean, that's just true. Everyone in Washington has been covering the story. Everyone knows that the White House has been using all of its muscle, all of its power to try to whip votes at, and first of all, their first objective was to make sure that leadership under no condition would bring this thing to a floor vote. Massey simply outmaneuvered him using the petition process. Of course, Democrats were going to sign on to it, and there were enough votes, enough Republican votes to be able to get it through. And what it basically does, guys, is it circumvents leadership. Leadership is seniority, is currency in Washington, D.C. That's why you want a committee assignment. That's why you want to be a senior member from whatever state you're in. It doesn't matter if you're in the House or you're in the Senate. You decide if you are seniority, what is tabled, meaning it does not move forward in Congress, and what is put to the floor in advance or put through committee in advanced. So seniority is actually currency. So the White House first tried to do the simplest thing, which is to go to leadership, because it is hard to bypass leadership with this process. It's tough. Otherwise, it would be done a lot. But they went to leadership. They got that from Mike Johnson. That was never going to go forward. And a couple Republicans turned into more Republicans, and they just didn't have the votes to stop. They have a narrow majority, so they didn't have the votes to stop this thing from being sent through. And so he didn't, set some trap. He didn't lay some trap. This was no 4D chess game. He got outmaneuvered, and he was forced to change his mind and forced to look like, that smart thing to do is to look like, try to convince people that you changed your mind. But this is the silliness of it all, Frank. This was super, super easy to explain away. I remember, and I told this story on What Are the Odds earlier today with Barnes. I remember when we polled this, and because the Epstein issue was the first sign of cracks in the Trump base. This is not like what you're seeing is falling numbers, and they are falling, and it's bad. It's bad out there for Republicans right now. Right now, it's electorally speaking, a dire situation. If we had the election today, I am not at all convinced they'd even hold the Senate. I think I'm not kidding. It's that bad. I polled North Carolina this weekend. Michael Whatley is down 8 points. I have never even had anyone down 8 points in North Carolina before. It's gross, Frank. And it started with the Epstein issue simply because younger voters use this, particularly younger and independent, populist, new MAGA, use this as a proxy issue for holding the rich and the powerful and the deep state, all of it, accountable. And when Trump mishandled it, it caused some of the newer part of the coalition to start, losing faith. And all he ever had to do was go out and say, look, this is the same. These files were put together by the same crooks all right, who, pushed the Russia hoax, the same crooks who protected Whitey Bulger, the same crooks who let Hillary Clinton go. You know the spiel. That's all he had to say. It's going to take some time. We need to make sure we don't let have innocent people get hurt by this because of the way these files were put together. Give us some time. In the meantime, let us pivot to the economy because I was elected to make your life better. Very key part of this. They chose not to listen to that advice. Instead, the president went to Truth Social and said, if you have a problem with this, I don't want your support anymore. Well, guess what? A lot of the new part of the coalition said, all right, and walked away. And he didn't pivot to their life being made better. I mean, I sympathize with the president. He's in D.C. It's a bubble town. He thinks he's doing all these wonderful things. Unfortunately, he is not out. He is not mixing with the people. He is not getting good advice. We are conducting half a dozen focus groups a week, Frank. We're polling all over the battleground states. Where national polling is literally conducted every night now. We have a lot of stuff going on. I am telling you, this is really bad. They're in a very bad bubble. And he thinks, I don't understand what went wrong here. Well, I don't know how you don't. Instead of pivoting to making people's lives better, and you won an election saying, I'm going to put the American public first. You went from pissing off a lot of people over the Epstein issue to then pivoting towards foreign interventions, which, by the way, is part of the story.
But Rich, who is, you before you were talking about the bad influence, bad advice. Do you have any idea who, what special interests would be at the tip of the spear of, advising that this?
I do.
because of course there's the whole idea of motive as well. I mean, Donald Trump has been talking about Jeffrey Epstein in a very provocative way since 2015. Yes. So there had to have been a manual override, and people at least want to know who that person or group is and what their motive is, because obviously to protect the truth of this matter is a horrible sign.
Well, I remember, and I didn't get to this part, but I remember I told this story earlier on What Are the Odds with Barnes. We were basically on the road polling this Epstein issue, and I had sent it over to Charlie, and he was like bugging out over it because he knew from talking to his own people that something is going awry here. And he was like, look, I need you to come on and I need you to go over this polling. And I'm like, Charlie, I'm in the car, I'll be back home. I'll come on tomorrow. And he was like, no, I'm going to go talk to them today. And he's like, I need you to do this because we love him, because we need him to course correct, because we need him to see, this is more than just about Jeffrey Epstein. There was something else going on there. At the same time, Charlie was also, and not just him, but they were trying to push back against interventionists, all right, and Israel was certainly the first one, but they were not alone. People who advocated on behalf of a more interventionist policy. Immediately, these people started lobbying for regime change with Iran. So all of these people who are pretending like Donald Trump always just planned to conduct very limited strikes on their nuclear facilities simply don't know what they're talking about. This was a constant fight. And honestly, this is a big blow to the right, because Charlie was one of those few voices who had access, but also was still in touch, especially his own constituency. The right doesn't have that anymore, and they certainly don't have somebody like that who the president trusts or the people in the White House trust to say, look, no, you cannot do this. It will hurt you with your voters. But that is what happened. I mean, and then you just saw like the Ted Cruz's and the rest of the Israeli First crowd licking their chops, Frank, and they distracted him. I mean, that's the way Washington works. You have very limited amount of time as a president to get your agenda through. I mean, you have a peak presidency of about 9 months. And the fact of the matter is those people sucked all the oxygen out of the room for, since spring. And they have not been focused on what others, what he was elected to do.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just what it comes down to. And I got to tell you, they've been very generous. They've been very open. Certainly, I know Susie gets a lot of crap. She's not like, there's not like one villain in the White House, guys. I'm not defending her. I'm just simply saying it's like sometimes it's really a little bit over the top even today, earlier on the show. I mean, it's a number of things, but the fact of the matter is the collective voices that have the president's ear, had his ear for a couple of months now, are not MAGA. They're not America First. And it's bad. Like I said, they've been generous. They've heard out a lot of all of our polling group, and they're been very generous with their time and very nice. The fact of the matter is, though, every single one left like, oh my God, this is way worse than we thought. Like this is a really bad bubble.
The reason that the boomerang theory never didn't take root for me, not even like 10 seconds, is because, again, why the pit stop to insult everybody? It's one thing to say I gotta put this off, we gotta figure it out, but to say it never existed, it's a hoax, and to call people past supporters, I just didn't understand that. I mean, is that all improvised, or did he really believe?
That's frustration.
Okay.
That is the result of frustration. Again, I mean, there was no boomerang, there was no trap laid. This was him frustrated and angry at the time. He was basically like, why the hell do these people want to talk about this? I don't get it. I've done so many great things. I just want to move on from this. And certain people did their level best to say, not for nothing, when you harness a political issue, you own that issue. Let's stop pretending like the right, not just Donald Trump, but the right didn't weaponize the Epstein issue, during election times, right? I mean, they did. So then when you do that, you own that issue now. So don't be surprised when people turn to you and they want you to act on that issue. And again, it's more than just what they campaigned on, Frank. Come on, let's not forget Jack Posobiec, Benny Johnson. I know these guys. They were invited to the White House. This big reveal is coming. They were dangled, it was dangled in front of them, bro, like an angler fish, and it didn't materialize. I mean, it was like part one. Remember the binders? Part one. I mean, so it's just really absurd and intellectually dishonest to now pretend like people who were wondering what the hell's going on and new supporters who believed you are somehow now your enemy because they're holding you to account for what you promised them. That's just so dishonest. Frank, I cannot stoop to that level of dishonesty. I don't care who it is. Like, I cannot do that. Like, that's too low for me.
Well, I have, aside from that, and that's been a slowly developing thing all throughout the year, of course, and proof positive that I knew that Pam Bondi at least was not the best choice. At least
she's just in over her head, guys, and she's a little, I don't know. She's got some bad ties to some bad stuff. That's just not MAGA, but she's in over her head. She doesn't have it. I don't know what to tell people.
Well, who knows what comes up along the way here too. I mean, there's other things I'd like to talk with you about, but we have a little bit of limited time tonight. I do want to ask you about the Kirsten Sinema of the Northeast, John Fetterman. Okay, take a listen to this. Here he is with is this Dana Bash?
CNN?
CNN, one of CNN's premier scowling harridans. Let's see. Let's take a listen to this.
Write about that in your book. You said, quote, "I've drunk deeply of the venom of both the left and the right. As a connoisseur, I can confirm that the most poisonous, the bitterest, is from the far left." That is pretty remarkable to hear you say that as an elected Democrat. Why?
It's just been my personal experience on this thing. And when I asked my digital team, I said, we're on all the platforms. Really, what's kind of the harshest? What's kind of the most personal? And the answer was immediate. He said, "Oh, blue sky. It's blue sky." And the difference is, I mean, the right would say really rough things and names. Some names I won't repeat on TV, but the on the left, it was like they want me to die, or that we're cheering for your next stroke, or that's terrible that depression won. Why couldn't it depression won? And I hope your kids find you.
Rich, this is something that's huge. What John Fetterman is talking about with the craziness. Well, first of all, the timeline continues to be a windy one. His election was a disturbing one where a clearly disabled man was being pushed through an embarrassing schedule of public appearances. You just push through, and then you have the wife who was suspect to a lot of people, wearing the hoodies at work and all that, the trips to the hospital to treat all this emotional distress. And now he's essentially, like I said, become this this like purple senator from the Northeast. Yeah. And of course he collapsed the next day after this interview, but still, what are you thinking about this, especially the messaging, what he's talking about, he's taken the political temperature from the left and the right as well too.
This is a bit of a warning for the right, because in their sycophancy, and especially Big Con, they're calling everybody anti-Semites. This is a bit of a warning to them too about John Fetterman serves as one. I think John has gone through an evolution of ideas. So I don't want to like blow anybody up or anything, but I'm telling you, I can vouch for the claim that John Fetterman is not finding very much in common with the Democratic Party these days. Like, that is real. And there are still some things where he falls on the wrong side of, MAGA, for instance, definitely. But but definitely the older school wing of the Republican Party, the more interventionist and the Rhino, or the McConnell wing, he calls it, right? He can't stand them. So now he finds himself in this position, which is a genuine position where he wants to be a senator for what he views to be most Pennsylvanians, but he's going to end up, like you brought up Sinema before. The problem is with that, he's going to end up, Frank, in a similar situation where he can't win a primary. Like, if he was to get to a general election, he's going to win overwhelmingly. He'll probably win with 20% of the Republican vote, but he can't win a primary because you're not far enough to the left. And I'm over there nodding my head in agreement with him, listening to the difference between the left and the right. I think there's vicious people on both sides, but the left is just... they're just so quick to go to violence, whereas the right is like edgy. They'll make fun of you. They're going to make fun of him a little bit. They're going to tweet, maybe replying the tweets with a couple Pepe, memes, maybe pulling a certain card out of his jacket. But the left responds with, I wish depression wins and you kill yourself. They're just hateful people. And that kind of hate lobbed at somebody is going to do one of two things. It's going to turn somebody off, and they're just not going to, let that ride on them, but you will turn them off from your position. And that's what I think happened here with John. And then it's a part of it anyway, or you turn them into the hateful ones that you are too. And that's unfortunate, because I think I'm seeing a lot of this in a lot of different places. He obviously is not. He's not letting that hate, it's like you stare into the abyss long enough, Frank, what happens, right? He's obviously not letting that turn him into that, because he's not at all. He hasn't been a hateful guy. He's obviously clearly has problems, but he has not been a hateful dude. But I think without a doubt, his own base, the vitriol that he gets from his own base has turned him off. And I'm telling you, I've said this before, I'll say it again. I know this for a fact. If the Republican Party would have at least looked like they were about to complete the realignment, and they weren't filled, especially in the U.S. Senate, with so many fakes, posers, like fake America Firsters, posers. These are Key Street people through and through, all right? If they weren't filled with that, and they were really a party of America First and Trumpism, Fetterman would be a Republican right now. He would have left the Democratic Party, and he would have become a MAGA First Republican, but he can't stand McConnell and the wing of that party. He can't stand what McConnell, like the culture he has left behind, or will leave behind.
Is that something that you're, from your observation, you're
no,
assuming?
I know this for a fact.
Okay.
I know this from personal, and I know this for a fact. I'm just saying that. I'll leave it there.
Yeah. No,
he agrees with Trump on like 80%. but he doesn't agree with the Republican Party on 80%.
And there's that very same theme over and over again.
Over and over again, Frank. And it's like the Republicans are just like trying to wait out Trump, and this time trying to co-opt what America First stands for, and they're wrecking it. I wish I had better news for you guys, but I don't.
Listen, we all. I think everybody out there. I'm eternally optimistic. Until the last door closes, I'm always looking. I'm trying to be real about things, your chances, and what strategy might be in play. I'm always rooting for success.
Something will emerge out of the death of everything, including movements, parties, whatever. Something always emerges out of that, Frank, right? So you have to stay optimistic, because you have to try to make sure that that what does emerge is better rather than worse, right? And I've always said this, that I didn't really ever view Donald Trump as like like Barack Obama was a transformational guy. He changed certain things forever, but he needed something to transition to it. Trump has always been more of like a transitional kind of figure, where he was opening the door. Republicans just had to walk through it. And that's where we're at right now. We're at the stage of whether or not Republicans are actually going to walk through this door that he's opened for them. And right now, again, it doesn't look like they were. I don't know that that'll end. This is the end of the story.
No.
But right now, it's
not the end of the story, because what's going on the left. See, on the left, we've talked about this before, and I've laid this down a lot. How I see it, where over the years, the true believers who were at one time just relegated to being the voters, the true believers in like the pie in the sky utopian egalitarian nightmare vision, that we're never going to get it because the Democrat McConnells, the Nancy Pelosi's, and they were always going to keep business in a certain orbit as well. And, it's just one thing. One side blames the other side for the full vision never coming to fruition. But the thing is that generations pass.
That's right.
And now we have true believers on the left that are just like, we can pay for everything. The same thing's going to happen there are going to be people. While Trump is there, I want him to make the best impacts possible. But he was always going to be gone in a flash. And there's going to be plenty of very young bucks out there who know where this needs to go. And even if Trump was doing everything right, would not be able to do it in 4 to 8 years. It's only going. I think that what separates us, of course, is that people who think about liberty are thinking sustainably, because it's more in line with our nature. People who are going to the far left side of things, they are in an absolute fantasy world that always collapses under the weight of its bad ideas. And I think that's what we have to go for, aside from the fact that it's going to set up a little bit of friction along the way.
Yeah.
So,
and then honestly, so if you do though, and this is because the pendulum of American politics is forever swinging back and forth, right? So if you do support, Trump and what his movement stands for, then you need him to succeed. You really do, at least to some degree, because as it stands right now, voters are very unhappy. The more unhappy they're going to be, the more radical of the other guys' ideas they'll end up accepting. And this is why I've always tried to warn people in the Republican Party, those who want to go back, they want to turn back the clock. It's never going to happen. The clock is not going to get turned back. The only thing that you need to consider is whether or not you're ready to offer the American public your vision of what, it's really gets down to populism, right? Are you going to offer them that vision, which could result in a rebirthing, could result in, a peace dividend, prosperity at home, right? Peace abroad. Or are you going to screw it up because the other side's going to offer their version of it too? And younger people, Frank, they have no concept, or it's not even they don't have a concept. They just don't care. They don't describe themselves as, I'm ideologically conservative, ideologically liberal, right? So these debates that we've been having over the last 3-4 decades to them are meaningless. They're much more about, will you get results? And that's why there's a bit of a danger here. You're talking about friction. I mean, so the more Republicans appear to have botched this, the more radical idea they'll accept when it comes to, down the road. For guys, a real simple way to look at this is George Bush certainly did not offer what he did not give the country the vision that he offered when he was running for president and what he was trying to sell. The George Bush who ran and beat Al Gore was a very different George Bush than the one who governed. He ultimately governed poorly. He focused on interventions. He didn't do all of the big things at home that he promised people. Social Security reform. He had big ideas, Frank. Do you remember this? He had very big ideas. And because a lot of them were populist and nationalist at their core, he was able to bring the Ross Perot coalition back into the Republican fold, shock all the pollsters, shock all the pundits, and he beat Al Gore. He won because of the war. He won re-election because of the war and because of fear. People didn't want to change. They didn't want to change horse halfway through the race during the war on terror. So they kept him. It was a close election, but they kept him nonetheless. But by the end of his term, we had the economic crisis because he was so focused with interventions. He didn't do anything to stave off the financial crisis, which they did know was coming. And there was a host of other problems at home. Well, who capitalized on that? A guy who didn't even serve one full term in the U.S. Senate, who was offering the left-wing version almost of what George Bush originally ran on. And it was all horseshit. It was all a lie, but he did it. And he changed the country forever in many ways, most ways, not in a good way. So that's what led to Trump. Because, this is the way the pendulum swings. And because Barack Obama failed to deliver hope and change, and he tried to gaslight people. 2% growth is the new normal. Trust me, you're fine. That's what led to Donald Trump.
It was 1.6% growth. I remember that. It wasn't
it's the new normal, buddy. I don't know what you're worried about. I don't know what your problem is. This is great. Things are great. But by the way, Barack Obama was able to win. He's also a lesson for the right. He was able to win re-election. The best thing he did, it was not the policy itself. The best thing he did was not let the American voter feel like he wasn't prioritizing them over other things. No matter what you could say about Barack Obama, as a pollster, when you asked Americans, do you approve of what he's doing in the economy? Oh, no, he's horrible. Does he care about you? Is he trying to make the economy better? And they would say, yeah, it's his number one priority. That's how Obama won. Now, you and I know that's horseshit. But it's all about optics.
Yes.
And that's what the current White House is not understanding. We have, I don't know if you saw the polling, but we've been doing this now for a couple of weeks. Majority, overwhelming, say that Trump is just too focused, has been too focused on foreign policy. And the rest want him to be focused like a laser on bringing back what they thought they were going to get, which was the pre-COVID economy under Trump.
Rich, listen, I hate to be like a nitpick because I really don't, and maybe because perhaps there are much smarter people out there laying the groundwork for moves that we will feel. But I get into all these little back and forths with people in comment sections on Instagram or something like that when somebody comes on to explain to me why the ACA, why Obamacare didn't work. But forget about, listen, we come from a culture right now where most people take their hands off the wheel and defer to somebody else driving the country because they believe that it's beyond our pay grade to understand how federalism works. I don't care who is a math whiz who can put 2% over here and take an interest rate down over there and make this whole thing work. There is no constitutional authority for this to exist. I don't care what John Roberts says. It doesn't exist.
Fabricated.
To nitpick, there is no nitpicking for me, and it shouldn't go on. But what I would like to see is the country drained of tens of millions of dependent non-citizens. I'd like to see the government barred from backing all sorts of loans, student and otherwise. I'd like to see the income tax eliminated, and I'd like to see BlackRock prevented from buying city blocks and turn them into renter hellscapes. If we were doing that, there would be no need for 50-year mortgages, $2,000 tariff dividends. I seriously don't.
right.
I don't want to nitpick here.
Subsidies for health insurance.
I know.
The problem isn't the subsidies, Frank. The problem is that Americans feel they need subsidies, and because of the way the system is, they kind of do. If you're going to operate in with this kind of a system, but it doesn't need to be that way. 50-year mortgages was a horrible idea. I mean, this is a great example of the bubble. Okay, and when it was explained to the president, he thought it would be great, and he thought everybody would, everybody would love this. I don't know how far you've come if that's what you think. And to give you an idea how bad the messaging is coming from the right now, one of the biggest problems that Americans are citing is healthcare again. And when we drilled down into it, which we did, focus grouping it actually, people are, it's just for the most case anyway, because everyone has different kind of health insurance if you're a public employee or something. But for the average working person, it's, the costs, whether it's premiums, maybe deductibles too high. And the fact of the matter is the rising cost of health insurance overall in this country was actually precipitated by the passage of the ACA. So of course they were rising. Yes, that's true. But the passage of the ACA made healthcare costs rise at a faster rate. And yet the right isn't even doing anything to argue that. They're playing defense on Democrats. Their attacks that they're leveling against them with, Republicans were holding up subsidies, Republicans were doing this. They're always reacting, Frank. They're never proactive, and they're not offering something as an alternative. Let me just ask you this real quick. What's the agenda? What's the agenda for the rest of the year and the rest of the Republican majority?
Making sure that Zelensky and Netanyahu are well funded? I don't know.
That's the only thing you can ever bank on Republicans meeting together in pressing matter. It's the only thing you can ever bank Republicans feel the urgency to get together and vote on. They have no plans. Now, I will give the White House credit. They have been hearing, well, we'll see. So we're told they have been hearing a lot of this. And there is apparently going to be something rolled out here soon. But again, what do you expect from the American public when they feel like there's nothing happening, right? That what did happen already, they disapprove of, with the exception of Doge, younger people. I think we talked about this on your show before. Elon Musk, his approval rating falling because a bunch of boomers are afraid he's going to get their Social Security or get a hold of their identity or something. Who gives a shit, Frank? Young people loved it. What's the future of the country? And was what Doge was doing, does that serve your ultimate goal? Does that help you achieve your ultimate goal? So then the answer is you keep going with it. But they didn't, right? So after the first 3 months, what they have seen from Republicans is not what they liked. And now they don't even know what's coming in the future. You couldn't get a voter right now to tell you what the Republican plan is for A, B, C, D. That just nothing.
Well,
they have
hopefully,
no idea what they're doing.
Hopefully that comes next. And I do hope. Before we leave, I want to ask you this before I have to change the title of the episode. This is from New York, from your old stomping grounds. The headline of the New York Post is, "Let our people go." Yeah. Zohran Mamdani victory spurs Staten Island polls to renew bid to pull out of NYC. There's a new bid. Mm-hmm. We'll see how far it gets pushed for Staten Island secession. And Staten
Island should have bounced from the boroughs a long time ago, Frank.
Well, I want to ask you about this real quick because I went in looking. I said, I some have said that maybe this is possibly the time that it could happen because it would ensure another Republican would never be elected for anything ever again. Like if the city were able to just drop Staten Island, they would never have any Republican. The voter base would be cut in by 75%. So I started wondering, what's going on with the money? The money, because always the money is going to trump everything. And that's when I realized, Rich, that Staten Island receives about $200 million more than they kick in. But then I realized that the only borough that is not operating at a deficit is Manhattan. Like the entire city. I
haven't looked at that in a long time.
Every borough.
And I wonder what's causing that actually, though. Like, what is,
you take your pick. all the shit that they're promising down there, even before Mamdani came around. But the fact that the only borough that is putting in more than they take is Manhattan is, I was like, damn, how did. This is why when you get elected as mayor in New York City, it's all they do is pay attention to what the makeup of the Senate and who's in the White House, because you're just never really running your own city. You're always just have your hand out.
You know, it's interesting. There's somebody on Locals told me to watch it. There was this Netflix show about Jim Garfield and how he became president, his assassination. At the time, the one thing that James Garfield was able to achieve was basically bringing down the patron system used by the Republicans at the time, who were really run by the New York delegation, right? Why? Because the Manhattan borough was 2/3 of federal revenues, Frank.
Wow.
At the time, 2/3 of federal. And I was listening to this and I'm like, I know it was a lot, but that could not be true. Sure as hell was. And it's amazing how Jim Garfield was able to break it up. And he did so by making simple reforms to civil service, but specifically an office that was in New York that dealt with the revenues. And it just goes to show what a Herculean task it was to reform that it's like a behemoth of a political machine. And yet the one thing he was able to accomplish was that. So I've been watching it and I'm thinking to myself, yeah, I mean, we like to think of our own time as being very corrupt. The Grant administration was disgustingly corrupt. The post-Civil War United States was grossly corrupt, and it was dominated by Republicans for 3 decades, basically. So almost 3 decades. So if Jim Garfield can do it, a lowly Ohio representative, who didn't even want, supposedly, to be president, then there's always hope. There has to be. You have to think positive like that, Frank, right? You have to. And he paid the ultimate price for it, unfortunately. But he still did it nonetheless. We don't recognize his contribution as often as we should. No,
those Gilded Age presidents, they don't get a lot of people looking into them, and I think that's why it's good that people like you and I have book clubs now. We do historical spotlights. We got to understand, especially Reconstruction America. Reconstruction unlocks understanding to so much, and I think we have to do a lot more of that in 2026. But Rich, thank you so much for the time tonight. It was a little bit of a short segment, but you're always a pleasure to talk to. Let everybody know your broadcast schedule and where to find you on Locals.
Monday, Wednesday, and Friday is, I just pop on Locals all the time, guys. But Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time is Inside the Numbers, or What Are the Odds Indoor. But until the holidays, it'll all be Inside the Numbers. And then it's Locals, Frank. We're everywhere. X, Getter, YouTube, Rumble, you name it. But the best place to follow us is on Locals, peoplespundit.locals.com. peoplespundit.locals.com. There is a lot of polling coming, so stay tuned.
All right. Have a good one. Thank you so much, Rich.
All the best, my friend.
All right, be whale. Okay, so there you go. Richard Baris. Baris is something else. Okay, I'm not going on a break because we're going to have Jason Bermas, the Jason Bermas, following the Richard Baris, coming on in about 15 minutes. So I'm going to read your super chats. I'm going to take your calls. It's 914-200-0269. There I am. You know what time it is, right? The phones are open! 914-200-0269. And don't delay, because I need to hear from you. Thank you so much to my cousin Trevor for making that wonderful stop motion treat. And there he is hanging out with me right here. The Frank character. Okay, so here's our super chats. And remember, everybody sends a super. It's the last day you can send a super chat and be in the running for that jean jacket. Oh, I forgot about the rainbows. Straight people like rainbows too. Embroidered shirt right there. We have a extra large in black and one more large in white. That's by our friend Marge in the chat room. So you're getting a whole bunch of stuff, and all you gotta do to be in the running to win, which I will draw a name tomorrow, is to send a super chat on quite frankly superchat.com or Rumble or YouTube or the Gold Pills. Anyway, let's go to this. Jeannie Yankee says, "Lovely Frank. Thank you so much, Jeannie. Jay Brits, hello. Eli P says, love the show with Rich Frank. Much love. Thank you. I love when Rich is on. Sapphire Blue says, you have great guests. Thanks for all your hard work. It's my pleasure. It really is. There's a lot of time when it doesn't feel very pleasureful, but that's just because I have such high standards and it drives me nuts. But when I'm sitting here, it's kismet. It's sublime. Run on empty says, count me in, Frank. I can rock that jacket. You damn right you can. It's an extra large. It is a good jean jacket. You can take the patches off and you can do whatever the hell you want with it. It is a grade A jean jacket. Never been worn, of course. And it smells like fresh detergent. Kevin Polina says, for Frank's number one fan, the wonderful Lauren, add to the Hot Fudge Sunday Fund for her noble deed last week. Well, thank you so much. Yes, Lauren will love that. Hot Fudge Sunday. See what happens this weekend. A Tubin says, what's up, Frank? First time super chatting ever. Coming at you from Southeast Wisconsin. Ready for an opening of gun season for deer hunting. Love the show. I think it is officially the opening of deer hunting and turkey season over here in New York. I saw that going around as well. Thank you for that. First time super chatting from Wisconsin. Everybody, once again, just chat it up in that chat room. Say hello to each other. Hit the like button. Comment if you're watching after the fact. It is so huge. We're going to recruit everybody to we're playing the game here. Where it doesn't matter if it's on YouTube or Rumble. You got it all. That's what's going on. We are trying to overcome the anti-spam protocols have been put in this year across all these live streaming platforms. You essentially have to prove that you are a high quality viewer, that you're not a bot. Lurking kills the channel. And we are turning that around. That's what we're doing. Okay, so let's see here. We 23 says, great show, Frank. Thank you, we. Very nice of you. We have Jay Semo says, Rich, is it too late for Donald Trump to straighten it out and bring back his supporters? I don't think so. I don't think it. Why would it be? I don't think it would be too late to do anything. And, but I don't know. We just got to wait and see. I just hate watching the clock tick away. Like I said, it's like watching a football game and you're trying to wonder, you're gauging how much time's left until the 2-minute warning, how many timeouts you have, how many scoring plays you have to put up. The defense have to make how many stops along the way to make this possible. You watch 4 years tick away like it's a week. And you're rooting for success because you want everybody to be successful. This is not like, it's a lot more is on the line here than when the Yankees fuck up. Okay? And the front office screws over the fan base by putting together a terrible, malfunctioning team that can't go farther beyond the division series every October. When that happens, you say, whatever. My life is still my life. I've got good things going on. I got challenges I need to overcome. And the Yankees are off jerking each other off in Cancun right now, being millionaires. This is a little bit more, if this goes wrong, we're all feeling it. We're paying for this charade. And I don't think that anybody should be shamed for being a little bit more, critical and saying, hey, where's the relief coming from? Where's the victory coming from? Can we get just a little something? That's why I'm saying the rhetoric is pretty important in this respect. When all we have to go by every day is that there is a new, that's great that trade deals are being struck and that businesses are coming into the United States, but the tax rates are not changing. All we keep hearing about is trying to help out people who are coming into this country, like immigrants and all that other stuff, when we want those people gone. At least for 10 to 15 years, there needs to be a moratorium. There's too much shit going on here. And we got to find a way to light the fires of people who've been here for a couple of generations or are already here. Things got to be, there can be no more. All the foreign aid has got to go. I mentioned Zelensky and Netanyahu before. It's everybody. Got to go. Now, again, transitional president versus who is going to be coming down the pike over the next 30 years. And I have no reason to believe that it's not going to get more bold. I have no reason to believe that. The other side gets dangerous. The other side, for their vision to come to fruition, they demand that you surrender everything that really makes you human. And they call it compassion by compelling that kind of control on everything in your life, professionally, personally, intellectually. But we will see. Always hoping for the best. Kiss Chaos has ordered Christmas package. Hi to Frank and all the Franklies. Happy holidays from crazy San Francisco. Yeah. Well, if you're a monthly sponsor of Quite Frankly, then you better check Patreon, Subscribe, Star, everywhere else. You guys have 24 hours. You have dibs on the first ever, Quite Frankly, Christmas ornament bundle. We're trying to give something to everybody, raise a little money at the end of the year over here to try to start 2026 off a little bit smoother. But they're beautiful, and you guys have 24 hours before it goes public. So there you go. There you go. Jason Bermas coming up in just a couple of seconds. Don't go anywhere. Let's see what else people are saying. Tommy Jekyll says Spotify sounds like a 24-hour Christmas music radio station. That's tough. Oh, it is tough, especially when you have about 200 songs in your Christmas playlist and you keep getting fucking Jimmy Durante over and over again. Grandma Grateful says, looking forward to my Christmas package. You're going to get it, Grandma. Don't you worry. Don't you worry. Okay, and the lines are open, ladies and gentlemen. Call in 914-200-0269. Oh, wait a second. That's my bad. That's my bad. Shit, I'm sorry. I don't think the lines are open. That's my fault. I'm sorry. Because I have the meeting open here so that Jason can come in. Captain Flint says, "Oh, Frank, my dear Frank, the first American explorer is our first holy emperor, Baron Trump." The first American explorer, or what? What do you mean? Dub Helix says, make sure to pick up your Quite Frankly Christmas ornaments. Oh, the people don't know about that for another day. They don't know about that. I'm telling you, I try to create as much value for the Quite Frankly Country Club members as possible. 123 SKG. Thank you so much. Captain Flint, hello. Stickman says, hello, Frank and Franklies. I could ride with Zoso Dude with that Quite Frankly podcast jacket. You damn right. Yes. Absolutely. Thank you, Dub. Let me see here. I would sport that jacket like nobody's business, says Vesper. Captain Flint says, Nick is a twat. I think Captain Flint is talking about Nick Fuentes. People always have very, very strong opinions about people like Nick Fuentes, but admittedly, I don't know. I don't know enough, which is why it was a very dispassionate viewing of this conversation between Tucker Carlson and Nick Fuentes. People have entire dossiers that are built up on a person and knows why they don't like them, or there's some kind of a gray area in their past or something. He's been an edgelord since, I mean, he was really young when he started out, I think. But I don't know. It kind of seems like a late night comedy show to me, to be honest. I've seen plenty of clips where he's made decent salient points. So again, I don't have the nuance, but I know that there's a lot of strong opinions out there. Sentinel says, I agree that this public fight is not good if you care about keeping a majority and you turn people off on brand. Trump put the brakes on it, calling it a hoax, and got both the Dems and the Republicans to clamor for it. If Congress passes a law, then it's Congress that exposes our friends. Our friends who are guilty by association and worse. If he ordered the DOJ to do it, Congress will still have hearings forever on how they know that these are all the files, how they know these are all the files and the methods, etc. The whole thing has been a bad distraction, but I still trust it will be okay in the end. Okay. I see that's the whole thing here. The forcing the hand of Congress, I just feel like we're in a situation right now where why can't you just be more forthright with the rhetoric? Come forward to people a little bit more. And if you need to bide some time, then I figured there'd be a little bit more diplomatic way of doing that without calling people idiots essentially for believing a hoax. That there was nothing there, and there was no, the statements that came from the DOJ about there not being a blackmail situation at all. That was just very head scratching. We're all used to the delays because of bureaucratic red tape and everything else. We're all used to that. We understand how even the simplest of things can be held up in what they call process. But to say there's never anything. It's very strange. It's very strange. And on everything else, I think the rhetoric is there. Who knows what's being worked on? I mean, tomorrow the headlines could be that there is this grand plan that is being rushed out that is all America first. It is all top, and like I keep saying, when I see somebody like Brendan Dilley asking those questions about what's going to happen, is the IRS and the Fed still going to end? Is this going to happen and that going to happen? Which is all, those are the things that really would help us out. When somebody like Dilley puts that out there, I naturally have to assume that he's asking that rhetorically. And I just hope that whatever he knows, and if anybody knows anything like that that's being cooked up behind the scenes, I wish that it could be just put out there a little bit more. Because like Rich said, I don't see Democrats making gains anywhere other than the fact that Republicans aren't really being bold. And you can't blame Trump about that either. Republicans are, by their nature, absolutely useless twats. Donald Trump dragged them against their will to several victories now. And they're just incorrigible bastards for the most part. So I just wish that there was a little bit more rhetoric that's coming forward about what's coming forward and what we're going to be presented, because all we get is foreign bullshit stuff going on in other places. Venezuela, Israel, Ukraine, one place or another that's not here. It's not here. Then that's all I want to hear about. So maybe we'll get a little bit more of that. You never know. You got to have hope, right? And that's why we get together to work through this shit. All right, we're going to get to some of your super chats because Jason Bermas is only going to have a short amount of time with us. You know him. He is a researcher, a host, and the director, filmmaker for some of the greatest eye-opening pieces and documentaries on the internet. He's a good friend of the show now after a couple of years of some work put in together. Jason Bermas, how the hell you doing, my man?
I am doing great, my friend. I hope that you are also doing well.
Oh yeah, things are. It's we're at the cusp of the holidays here. This is when everything starts getting warm and cuddly. You know what I mean? Anyway,
I do appreciate, yes, the warm and cuddly. It's actually been great out here in the Midwest in Iowa. It was like 70 all last week. I caught some snow the weekend before. Oh no, why does my stuff keep going out?
I don't know.
Not happy about it, Sarah. Hold on one moment.
You want to call back in?
Man, it's so weird that I'm having all these issues all of a sudden. Yeah, give me a second. I'll come right back. Sorry, brother.
No problem. No problem. You do what you got to do.
All right.
All right. So Jason will be back in just a moment. And yeah, we're going to be just jumping right into, this is one of the guys I really like talking about Epstein updates with. So that'll be good. The I don't care. This is the Truth Social from today. Here it is. or yesterday. As I said on Friday night about aboard Air Force One to one of the fake news media, House Republicans should vote to release the Epstein files because we have nothing to hide, and it's time to move on from this Democrat hoax perpetrated by the radical left lunatics in order to deflect from the great success of the Republican Party, including a recent victory on the Democrat shutdown. The Department of Justice has already turned over tens of thousands of pages to the public on Epstein and are looking at various Democrat operatives, Bill Clinton, Reid Hoffman, Larry Summers, etc., and their relationship to Epstein. And the House Oversight Committee can have whatever they are legally entitled to. I don't care. All I do care about is that Republicans get back on point, which is the economy, affordability, where we are winning big, our victory on reducing inflation from the highest level in history to practically nothing, bringing down prices for American people, delivering historic tax cuts. He went on and on and on. Listen, I don't know how I don't know how it's working out for you guys at the grocery stores, and I'm waiting for it. I can't wait to celebrate the day that really levels out. I'm not feeling it personally right now. I don't know what national averages are and where the outliers are. Maybe just because of where I'm living, who knows? But again, it's very easy to say, let it all out. You know? I don't care. Well, it seemed like there was a lot of care back over the spring. A lot of head-scratching things that were said over the spring, and I guess we'll just jump into that right now. It looks like everything's working for Jason as he returns. Are you feeling you're in a good position over there?
I think we're all right. I think we did it.
Okay. Well, listen. You know what? I just read this statement on Truth Social by Donald Trump about not caring. Release the files. Go ahead. I know that you think you've been on the show quite a bit to talk about just the cry to release the file release itself being a red herring. But I don't know. What do you think about what's been seen so far? Because I have a lot of, I don't know what to make of all these releases, but it doesn't look very compelling at all.
Well, I would disagree, actually. Maybe the media narrative surrounding what these documents are is not so compelling, but I assure you the mainstream media narrative of what this is, and what are they saying? They're saying Trump is all over these documents, right? Which he is, but the real narrative is that throughout it, Epstein's trying to take him out. Even before he's elected as the president in 2015. And the misinterpretation of this email, deliberately in some cases, where Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell are talking about, quote unquote, the dog that didn't bark, and the fact that he sat down with, and they redacted, but it's Virginia Giuffre Roberts in his home, doesn't bode well for them, actually. So what does that mean? Bradley Edwards, who represented Giuffre Roberts and many of the victims, hundreds of victims, talked about the fact that once Nick Bryant put out that original quote unquote black book of Epstein contacts and then the partial flight logs, the only person that contacted Trump was actually who? Contacted Bradley Edwards back was Trump. All right. So I don't know whether Epstein knew that he was working with Edwards. That's a possibility. But there had been no criminal charges against Epstein after the 2007/8 Mar-a-Lago case until 2019, right? Michael Wolff, who wrote this book on Trump. First of all, another great takeaway here is that Epstein was actually working with quote-unquote journalists, and he actually bought a politician. And I don't know if you know the Stacey Plaskett thing yet.
I saw the Washington Post actually pieced together a video that aligns with the text messages Epstein was sending to Stacey Plaskett, who's essentially a non-voting member of the House representing the Virgin Islands. But he's directing her line of questioning with Michael Cohen in real time. You can track this, that her line of questioning is being influenced by Jeffrey Epstein in real time.
Not influenced, word for word, verbatim copied. So for those that don't know, Plaskett actually had to give back money from Jeffrey Epstein in 2019. It was like, oh, I didn't even know about it, blah, blah, blah. No, 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 no. There's plenty of evidence that Epstein put her there. And now we know that not only did Epstein put her there, but in this whole like tirade, he worked with Thomas Langdon Jr. Of the New York Times, Michael Wolff, Paul Krasner was another journalist in this. That's why Trump's not in here again and again and again, because it has something to do with the girls and the relationships. There is some of that, and we'll certainly get into it, Frank. But again, nothing underage for certain. He's in here because he's about to be the president of the United States. Then he is the president of the United States. And then while they're trying to take him out, like you said, Epstein is talking about an associate of Trump to ask Michael Cohen about directly because he has inside knowledge. And after she does so, and like you said, you can watch the video tracked, he texts her back, great job. This shows you who really owns Congress and the Senate. It's not just Epstein, but other people like him. How many people are really doing that in real time or on behalf of others, right? So, no one that I've seen has covered this email, and we'll bring it up on screen right now. So this is in February of 2017, okay? Michael Wolff has already been in communication with Jeffrey Epstein for 2 years. And if you see this right at the bottom, the beginning of the conversation, so I'm doing this Trump book for a pile of money. This guy, a lot of people have theories on Michael Wolff. They'll say he's an agent. No, he's an opportunist that literally got paid as an operative to try to take Trump down. And he worked with Epstein to do so. And then he sat on all that stuff that he had from Epstein after the fact. He's still sitting, Frank, on the birthday book other than showing people what Trump put in the birthday book. You see what I'm saying? Like, these people are totally and completely unscrupulous. I don't know whether that's why Trump has flipped his script right now, or he realizes they already had the votes, or there may be another play here. And this is kind of a disturbing play because, again, everything that I've talked about via Epstein and what the real influence was in here. For instance, Frank, I've talked about the fact that he would curry favor with individuals by, after he was done with a girl, pawning them off on somebody else, right? He brags in this that one of the model girls that he had, I forget what the name is. Let's see if we can bring it up. I think I still have it. But that basically after he was done with her, he gave her to Trump. Now that doesn't sound like anything new. Like, I think we've already kind of known that model actually filed suit against Trump, saying that he jumped into bed with her after like the second date. But as I read the case, there was nothing beyond that. There was no sexual assault. She ended up dropping it against Trump. But did they date models and were they of age with Trump? Yes. So I think he's kind of just figured at this point, one, they're coming out no matter what. It's time to stop attacking Marjorie Taylor Greene, Thomas Massie, Rand Paul. That doesn't do any good for his base. Or there's an interesting appointment, okay? And Whitney Webb is always on top of these things, and God bless her for it. Essentially, Pam Bondi, after this, we'll show this to everybody, has announced that U.S. Attorney out of the SDNY, Jay Clayton, is going to be the person who's now investigating these Epstein files. So now some of these files may not actually come to light. And if you read this, Whitney Webb talks about how Jeffrey Berman, who originally brought the case against Epstein, was forced out and essentially not able to prosecute them. And that Bill Barr had tried to replace him with Clayton back in the day. Bill Barr, not your friend. Bill Barr, unsuccessful, but Leon Black, another associate of Epstein, his firm Apollo Global created a board position, it seems, for Clayton. So in other words, Clayton just went to a friend of Epstein, got a cushy no job, and now he has been installed to investigate Epstein. So I think this might also be Trump's opportunity to shape the narrative a little bit more. Again, he doesn't seem to be guilty in any of these files, but he can selectively put out what he wants, and anything that might go too far, say in the arms dealing department, in the Israeli department, in the Saudi Arabian department, because that's a real thing. One of the other big things in these emails no one's talking about is that Epstein was basically brokering a deal diplomatically with Morocco as well. Okay, so it shows that international reach that he had. Remember, we've talked about on this program that he had that passport via Saudi Arabia, right? With a address there and a fake thing. There's a ton on the Saudis in here. And, let's be honest, the Trump administration would like to keep friendly with MBS and the gang, right? So would a multitude of others after the Trump administration.
So wait, so Jason,
go ahead.
No, is that the biggest hurdle that you see? Like going back to when everybody was essentially being told, I mean, the DOJ came out and said that there was no blackmail operation, there are no files, blah, blah, blah. We were like, everybody said, wait, what? And then after that came Trump's insulting, a little bit more insulting exclamation points put onto those statements about, it's a Democrat hoax, there's nothing there. And then of course, just like drawing a line in the sand with his base. I wondered what the hell could that be? Well, why? Especially if every time there is a little bit of a reveal of what the hell has been withheld, it really doesn't show anything other. That's why I say it wasn't very impressive from the standpoint of, is Trump implicated? Other than that, it's rife. It's full of just the media being owned and all of that stuff. But at that point, what's the motive for being so insulting with the people who, if in large part, put you in to uncover things like this? Is it really just the gun running, you think?
Well, I think that's part of it. I still think that the blackmail stuff is there. I think, again, those international relationships, not only with Israel, but Saudi Arabia, and obviously the United Kingdom and the royal family, right? Those arms deals go across the board in all those regions, Frank, right? First of all, as I've stated on this show and others, does it make Trump look good? No, right? It shows he was a friend to this guy. However, when you weigh it against what other people look like, Trump clearly cut off the relationship. I mean, there's another email in there where Jeffrey Epstein is talking to Michael Wolff again, saying he's the only one that can take Trump down, right? So I think that there's, like I said, I think there's the possibility that Trump didn't understand what exactly was in these emails and how Epstein, how adamantly he was working with quote unquote journalists, which I'm sure that he, knows, were part of that deep state narrative, like Michael Wolff, and he's angry about it. At the same time, I think one of the reasons he was hesitant even before he got in there is because he realized this went far beyond just, a serial pedophile who was a billionaire. He also realized the banking industry. Trump's seen behind the curtain on how dirty a lot of these people are, right? I think it's going to be interesting. I think that he's trying to manage this the best he can. But once again, Frank, who do we trust when we're talking about the FBI in particular? Look at what we've just had in just the last couple of weeks. Number one, we've had movement on the January 6th pipe bomber. What is the FBI's response? Well, we don't know, and we're not looking at this individual. I mean, Kyle Seraphin, love him, hate him, whatever. He's not only an FBI agent, but he was put on that case, and he was at that person's neighbor's home who apparently picked that person up and was never allowed to question them. All right. Mm-hmm. And again, if you believe that the FBI, the DOD, the NSA doesn't know at least what that operation was at a base, let alone who it was that carried it out, you're very naive. Look at what we've seen with the FBI and Thomas Crooks. How is it that Tucker Carlson is able to finally find this digital footprint that everybody told us didn't exist? And again, when you thought about it just for a second, a child could tell you that a, early 20-something-year-old, right, has a digital footprint. And there's no way that you could scrub that digital footprint. Now, Do I think that, the Tuckins has gotten down to everything? No, but he's made a fool of the FBI in public. They don't like that. I mean, think about the lie they've told us over and over and over again. And this is an attempt on Trump's life. You would think he couldn't be so blasé about it. But me and you, we don't get to see the behind the scenes stuff. We don't get to hear the backdoor conversations, the closed door conversations. We don't get to talk to Netanyahu as a military power, right? So it's a lot of it is speculation. But like I said, the system looks terrible with this Epstein stuff. But it's not like Trump comes out smelling like roses. Does he smell better than, say, a Stacey Plaskett? Yeah, he sure does.
Or a Michael Wolff.
But again, that's not how the media is framing it, is it, Frank?
No. And and I'm looking at this here too. This came out on Friday from Kash Patel. He's giving a little bit of a profile here of Thomas Crooks, and he says the investigation conducted by over 480 FBI employees revealed Crooks had limited online and in-person interactions, planned and conducted the attack alone, and did not leak or share his intent to engage in the attack with anyone. It feels exactly like the ending of the Las Vegas story. That Stephen Paddock, we don't know anything about him. This is all we're ever going to know, and that's just what we have to live with. And again, just to sum up my reading of all of the Epstein stuff now, and I know you see it the same way. The Michael Wolff situation is weirder than anything. I mean, they dropped this page of email transcript that Trump's name is in it, with a redacted victim's name, and within 24 hours, we find out that the victim is now deceased Virginia Giuffre Roberts, who already adamantly cleared Trump of any wrongdoing. So they essentially faked a redaction in order to use a dead woman as a prop. And what we are left with are just countless comments from Epstein about how much he hates Trump, and this incestuous relationship between Epstein and the media, especially with Michael Wolff. And I mean, in Wolff, people are trying to defend Michael Wolff, are saying that he's obviously working a source. He's not working a source here. He's giving strategic political advice to Jeffrey Epstein on how to damage Trump through seemingly nothing other than guilt by association. It's a fascinating thing that this was even released. It makes me wonder about everything.
Well, again, I think, listen, everything isn't written in stone. All right. As much as they want, like the black pilled crowd wants to say that everything is fake and we can't get to the bottom of anything and nothing is real, that's not true. Thomas Massie is a real person. And shame on Trump prior to this. I really hope he rolls it back for trying to take out Massie and run somebody against him because he dares to talk about the truth of the economy. The thing is that unlike any administration in my lifetime, Frank, the base, right, the real base of the people, not the super MAGAs, not the TDS crowd, the people like myself, right, and maybe like just people that get involved peripherally about one issue. If they're that upset about something, Trump has to manage it, right? If more people were throwing a fit about Doge, if they weren't successful about the heartstrings there, he would have had to go back to that. I think we need to. You notice how he stopped talking about Fort Knox, not enough pressure. The thing is, the Epstein story is never going away because it's the one thing I've seen in my 20 plus years of doing this that crossed the boundaries of not only Democrats and Republicans, but pierced the veil into the general populace, where it's Epstein is as synonymous and notorious as like saying Mickey Mouse or Coca-Cola at this point, right?
Yeah.
Everybody knows about it and nobody likes it. And unfortunately, it's also a Rorschach test for a lot of people, Frank. Even people that claim to know about this case, they break out their jump to conclusions, Matt. They believed in unicorns and fairy tales. Like, let me give you another example. Had I believed that Trump was going to release the 9/11 files, right? Forget about the Epstein stuff because we haven't heard anything about 9/11. Trump said he would actually do that. Now, we're not talking about Kash Patel and Dan Bongino on the podcast Radio Roadshow talking about Epstein. We're not talking about Elon Musk on podcasts saying they don't want Trump in there because he's going to release the Epstein list. I'm not even talking about that kind of stuff. I'm talking about he actually said that he would release the 9/11 files on Fox News. Anybody can go watch it. He said he would do it. If I had believed that, Frank, I would have been knocking on doors telling people to vote for this guy. Not a peep, okay? People have to have discernment. But unfortunately, for them, for the predator class, when enough people just have a hint of it and anger, they can push the needle with this administration. So we'll see how far that needle is pushed. Again, I'm not holding my breath. We've talked about, indictments with people like Bolton and Comey, and yeah, it's great for the narrative. What's it mean for the reality, right? Is anybody going to jail? Can we change this system? When we were going to audit Fort Knox or cut the government, balance the budget, what did we really get with this budget? We got a divisive government shutdown, which, hey, didn't affect me. I mean, didn't affect a lot of people. Maybe on the peripheral, forget about those who are getting government entitlements or benefits or work directly for the government, right? Like travel would have been the one thing where maybe you were disrupted a little. But what did they fight? They fought $1 trillion+ in, healthcare, because our healthcare system's so good anyway, for illegals that aren't even in this country. The Overton window is shattered, bro. Like when we're talking about reality sauce. So, buckle up for the rodeo, everybody. The Epstein one is going to be a fun ride because I think there are going to be some illusions that are shattered. But at the same time, I don't know that the whole system gets turned on its head because it can't. The only way that happens, unfortunately, Frank, is like a large scale false flag type event or event where you have a mass casualty by some kind of a nuclear weapon, some kind of a disaster or bombing or chemical attack. That's it. Like the COVID 1984, needle moved. Yeah, it moved because we had a literal global biological attack and a global predator class colluding against the general populace. I got hope, like I said, because we can move the needle a little bit with Trump, and you've seen it over the past few months. That's why we're having this. But it's only with people like Massey, MTG, and Rand Paul, pushing that forward, right? Like if they're not doing it, no one else is. I don't see anybody else.
Okay. Yeah, and again, there are very polarizing characters all of a sudden in this game, and who the hell knows? Or I would hate for it to be some sort of a crazy all or nothing Armageddon like situation that we get full confirmation and disclosure on things, but. You think about the fall of the Soviet Union, how much confirmation we got about the communist KGB infiltration of our government through the Venona papers. That was only after, the government collapsed and we were able to sift through all the ashes over there and all the old filing cabinets, got to learn all the code names and everything. But before you leave, because I know you have a hard out at 8:45, it always inevitably pops up when Epstein's name is brought up in the operation that he was, at least, involved in, and maybe however many hats he wore. But one thing that usually pops up, I've never gotten any clarity on, and I wonder what you can tell me about, is that this claim that he was responsible for paying the salaries of a few developers of Bitcoin. I always heard Bitcoin CIA control theories and all that stuff, but inevitably MIT, Jeffrey Epstein, they all come in too. So what do you got on cryptocurrency, namely Bitcoin and Jeffrey Epstein? Anything?
That's a path that I have not seen crossed yet. I've heard rumblings, but like I said, with these direct emails, if that were the case, you would probably, and look, there's a lot more communications we're going to find out. The other thing with this is, we've talked about the binders of DVDs, CDs, photographs. I don't know if we're ever seeing that, right? And when he was talking to Michael Wolff, he was talking about maybe having a photograph of Trump with a bunch of girls in bikinis in his kitchen, right? Now, think if he's holding on to something like that for blackmail, how deep does it go? That's obviously very tame. That doesn't necessarily represent Trump. When we talk about technology, though, there's also Johnny Vedmore's done a great piece on Epstein and Musk, right? And his visit to SpaceX. Now, Musk says he had no relationship with Epstein. Mark Zuckerberg claims that Musk tried to introduce him to Ghislaine Maxwell, okay? Now, in these emails, again, these are the important parts, Frank. We know that Peter Thiel and Jeffrey Epstein absolutely had a relationship. Now, he'd been in the Rolodex. There'd been talk of a meeting. But there is also this exchange where Epstein slyly says about something that Peter Thiel said about Trump. He said he enjoyed his exaggerations, not lies about Trump. So whatever Peter Thiel had said at the point, again, he's talking to him. This dump also has communications with Bannon. You and I have discussed the fact that Bannon is sitting on supposedly 15 hours of interviews with Jeffrey Epstein. Excuse me.
Are you okay?
I'm okay. I didn't die. I didn't just a sneeze. In this communications with Bannon, it looks like those interviews may have taken place in Europe. Again, they're out there in the public arena. I'm happy we're getting these, and we'll see how much more we get. But remember, we're only getting these from the estate because they've been part of discovery in other trials before. What hasn't been part of discovery in the criminal trials before? What has only been part of discovery, say, in a lot of these civil trials? In the Bradley Edwards case, Dershowitz is out there running his mouth again. Look, like I said, this isn't going away. I don't think we're ever getting the full truth on it. I doubt we're seeing any kind of prosecutions. If anything, it's a cautionary tale to the rest of us, the serf class, the plebs, really like what the neo-feudalists look at the lowest of the lowest, to see how the system works. To see how social climbers get in here, to see how these people actually do business and stab each other in the back, to see how they look at the majority of us as things, right?
Yeah.
And look at weasels like Michael Wolff that are willing to work with a convicted, pedo billionaire to try to take down a political opponent on behalf of his dinner buddies and a pile of money, Frank.
A big pile of money. That's the way it is. And again, for these books, we always wonder who the hell's even reading. And whenever I read emails like this, it's just one of those things where you're never going to get away from those who believe that any kind of a political book deal these days or any kind of an art auction these days is anything less than just one payoff or another that's being washed through a seemingly legitimate exchange.
And again, Frank, these emails show some of those art shows. They show some of those artists. They show, Epstein talking about them up and coming, et cetera, et cetera. So once again, these emails absolutely have huge revelations in them. And I don't think a lot of that, I don't think the people have gotten to the gravity. I mean, again, we now know for sure, you could try to play it off like Plaskett wasn't bought and paid for. But not only do you have a bought and paid for politician, that, by the way, I showed some of her classics. I mean, she was speaking at some university in Brooklyn in June of 2021, Frank. So not June of 2020, June of 2021. And the picture of her, she got a nice big mask on and a big power fist. She's a good person. She's not only put in office by Epstein, but when it's an attempt to take down a politician who may not be the greatest, you may not love his attitude, but like I said, he is significantly different than any other guy we've had and doesn't seem to hate us on the level of the other people. He's telling her not only how to take him down, but saying, say this. And she does.
I know.
And then he gives her a little pat on the head. Like, great job. We're living in wild times, bro.
If he were in the room, he would have fed her a treat. It's crazy. And I actually give credit to the Washington Post for taking the text messages, the transcripts, and aligning it with the real-time video. It's nuts. You want to see your representatives actually on a string, and to see who the puppet master in that respect is. Oh my gosh. Anyway, Jason Bermas, at Jason Bermas, anywhere on Twitter, on YouTube, find all of his stuff. Jason, when are you going to be live next? Where can people go?
I'm actually going to be live later tonight talking about Marjorie Taylor Greene, talking about Trump, talking about these Epstein files and what we do and don't know. And by the way, Frank, about a month ago, after 5.5 years, we have been remonetized on YouTube. So go check me out over there. It's the Info Warrior. That's where you'll see the show. And again, until they boot me off, and even if they do, I'll be back in some way. I'm going to be telling you the truth about these things, not the conservative spin, not the Trump worship spin, not the TDS spin, not the Democrat spin, but what's actually in the raw files that you can check out yourself.
And not only that, I know that you haven't been really active on YouTube in the last couple of years. I mean, I was permanently demonetized in April of 2020, and I just got it back this April too, so it was exactly 5 years. But incredibly, your entire archive is on YouTube, and I guess you've just kind of like drifted like driftwood through the hot times, and I guess we have a little bit more room to breathe right now. I would really say if you've never seen any of Jason's work, go and check out the archive that's listed on YouTube or anywhere else. Watch them again and again, the 9/11 work and everything else. Really wonderful. Thanks again for everything tonight, Jason. Talk to you soon.
Thanks, sir. Later.
All right, later. All right, so we got a couple of minutes left. I want to go into the super chats, and I want to open up the lines. Oh, and before I do that, I got to thank Keto Brainz. I totally forgot. I got to thank them, ladies and gentlemen. Keto Brainz, your nature's first and finest. Okay, your chemical factory in your brain. That's what you got already. But now you got this wonderful nootropic. It's a stack, as Molly likes to say, that increases. This is from her. Acute brain function. Oh, I can tell you. That's what I feel every morning. I feel very cute. Protects the brain and mitochondria in the long term. You got the ketone production of the MCT power. That powder that comes from the coconuts. The increase in acetylcholine and HGH production from the alpha GPC. You got the alpha wave production from the 250 milligrams of L-theanine. That's the calm focus. Then, of course, the lion's mane mushroom that actually juices up your nerve growth factor. She should come on the air and talk about the nerve growth factor on this show. I think she's going to be on with us in the night before Thanksgiving. Jay's in. I wanted her to call in because I saw this incredible article about from where the hell was it? Why we are aging so quickly. I said, damn. Anyway, there are two amazing things that you guys got to go check out right now. There are two things where there's going to be a $500 giveaway the night before Thanksgiving. That's a $500 package with the vibration plate and the Keto Brainz bag right there, the electrolyte salts, and of course the BPC 157 peptides. I take those. Lauren takes those. They're incredible. All you got to do is use Frankly code or Turkey. If you've used up all the Frankly codes, use promo code Turkey on anything over $39. Any purchase over $39 on ketobrainz.com, and you're going to get into that $500 giveaway. There's a few people already in it, but I mean, you're making their chances very, very good. $500 worth of stuff. And there's also holiday bundles too. You go to Keto Brainz, the drop down, there's the holiday gift sets, and use promo code Holiday Frankly for 20% off of the whole damn thing. And if you are a monthly sponsor, get in touch with me. You have a 25% code. Thank you so much to Molly. Thank you. All right. Well, the lines are open for the last 12 minutes before I take you all into the flip side. 914-200. Oh, 914-200-0269. You should be able to get through now because I'm not in a meeting waiting for Jason. So give me a buzz. We got 10 minutes. Make it snappy. A nice little thought that you want to leave for the road. And yeah, Captain Flint says, Dilly 100% puts it out there rhetorically. And I pray. You know, I know that there's a lot of cleanup that's been going on. You can tell just by the way that Democrats in this country are organizing on the street. They're running out of money and they're running out of chances, which is why it would be so great right now for there to be a string of ruthless victories all throughout the winter and into next year, regardless of whether or not there's a midterm, ruthless steamrolling victories. That's what I would love. To stop concentrating on the rest of the damn world, anything that is not United States. Don't tell me about, oh, well, our allies and, well, that trickles down to us. No, trickle up. Let's trickle up. Let's do so well here at home that we're just easier to deal with because we have more money to spend as people. Give us our money back. We don't need dividend checks if we just are able to keep what we earn, damn it. So there you have it. I'm hoping it's all rhetorical. Molly already says, banger of a show, Frank. Much love. Thank you, Molly. And I can't wait to see who wins your wonderful art in this giveaway that we're going to announce tomorrow. You can leave a super chat overnight. If you're listening to this, quite frankly, superchat.com, you could enter overnight. I'll be collecting all of the final names tomorrow around noon Eastern time. So what else do we have here? That's it. Oh, Nathan says Fetterman is a very odd canary for the current political climate. He's absolutely out in no man's land. Yeah. Yes. He's in a unique position. It really is. Aaron, welcome to the show. How are you?
If I was doing any better, I'd be you, Frank.
Oh, you're very kind. So what are your thoughts as we're closing out the night?
Oh, I've been thinking about this MTG thing because, I really think she's a patriot. And I can't help but think about the DeSanctimonious episode. This might just be kayfabe to curry the favor of the left to make them fall in love with MTG so they know they don't have to hate every MAGA person and maybe to slip her in as VP.
Oh, well, I mean, that would be that's a new theory. I'll tell you, I don't know. I just think that this is the way that things go. I think that there is a pretty vicious way that people are kept in line, and you can see it trickles down. I mean, it's a lot more brutal on the social media end of things. It does not seem like if this is all kabuki up on the top level, people are getting that message down on the bottom level. It's absolute war against people like Marjorie Taylor Greene and Rand Paul and Thomas Massey. And honestly, I haven't even really seen what the quotes are and what people are saying to create this kind of divide. All I know is that it's, if you're not walking in lockstep, it can get pretty dicey. But all right, well, your theory is as good as anybody's until, of course, we see what the end result is. So
that's right.
Well, that's that. Well, thank you for the call, Aaron.
All right. You betcha. Thank you, buddy.
And I'm happy that you got your channel back too, my friend.
Oh, me too. It's a blessing, I tell you.
Well, there you go. That's Truth Stream.
Truth Quest.
Truth Quest. Sorry, there's two Truth Streams, and then there's Truth Quest. Aaron Moriarty. I was in that chat room a week ago or so. It was very cozy. Thank you again.
You're welcome. Thank you, buddy.
Okay, take care. Let's take a call. 817, you're on the air.
Hey, Frank, this is Cloud9.
Oh, good to hear from you, Cloud9. We got a couple of minutes, so what do you got on your mind?
Yeah, well, it's nothing too serious other than I just got done finishing a series, which I know I'm late to the party on this, but I just literally got done finishing over the weekend, and I just finished watching, sadly, the ending season of Game of Thrones.
Oh.
I just got around to watching it, and holy shit, Frank.
No.
I knew it was bad, but I didn't know it was like mind-alteringly boggling narrative cockamamie BS. So I didn't realize how bad it was.
I actually have it. There's a few years put in between me and all of my disgust. I've actually forgotten all the reason why it was so stomach churning. But oh man, I think that's actually when I found. I was so disgusted. I actually sought out new YouTube channels that were reviewing it because I wanted to just revel. I wanted to commiserate with people about how bad it was. It made me feel better, and that's how I found. What's his name? The Critical Drinker. Critical Drinker. That's how I found him.
Yeah, Mahler, all those guys from EFAP.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I just got done trying to cleanse myself as well. Like literally just every single thing that I had a complaint about was exactly reiterated on all those videos. So, obviously it's 6 years post the final season. I haven't started to see House of the Dragon. I know they're now making like a new show. I think it's a prequel as well, the Seven Kingdoms, I think. I could be mistaken on that, but a trailer was just released. And it kind of goes more into the jousting, Knight's Tale aspect of it all, kind of harkening back to the Heath Ledger film, A Knight's Tale. And they're really trying to get into that medieval age. But man, the first 4 seasons I thought was like absolutely just some of the best writing on a television series, if not probably, I would say like top 3 for me. I would say like for me, Sopranos, X-Files, at least the first 5 seasons of X-Files, and then Game of Thrones would be like my go-to shows. But damn, man, like, I don't know. After season 7, I thought, oh God, it can't get worse than this, right? And then I saw episode 5, The Bells, and I thought, nope, they screwed it up.
It was awful. It was awful, and up to and including season 4. I mean, they were still on the books. And I have to get off now, but thank you, Cloud9. Yeah. It was great to hear from you. Even though the phone call, I was waiting for this phone call 6 years ago, but thank you one way or another. Thank you. They were still working off the books. They had plenty of material. with the books, and they also had George R.R. Martin, who essentially knew where it was all going to go, and I think that they're on the same page. And of course, we'll never be able to actually see what Martin's vision is going to be, because he's, I think, just out of spite now. He just wants to go to his grave, never having. He hates the fan base so much just because of how much he's asked about why he isn't working fast enough. So there was that. But the real reason why they tanked Game of Thrones is because I forgot what the actors' names were. They were in line for getting a Star Wars trilogy. I think that they were going to be getting a new Star Wars trilogy, and I think that they're trying to wrap it up. And it's obviously it was done very hastily. It was stupid, completely stupid. Even just the production, the cinematography. I remember the night. What was it? What did they call it? The Long Night. It's the night within they were in Winterfell, and they were just battling the White Walkers. That terrible. I mean, there's just so much that they wasted all of their what do they call them? Shit, I'm forgetting about everybody. Who's the horseman's name again? Fuck. Anyway, I was about to call them Iraqis. They wasted all the Iraqi horsemen. Oh, it was so bad. Strategically, it was terrible. And of course, it was so dark. You actually couldn't. Everything was filmed so dark. You couldn't see anything. Horrible. What a very big letdown. It really was. I'm gonna have to go back and watch it all now. One day. All right. Well, that was the last 5 minutes. Out of nowhere, Game of Thrones talk. So I'm sorry that we just chased away about 1,000 people who are watching. Dothraki. Yeah, that's right. All the Dothraki. That's it. We got a few thousand people on horses. Let's just send them out into the nothing. Send them out into nothing. Have them all just get, torn to shit. And it was awful. It was so stupid. So that's all I have for you right now. But listen, we're going to just concentrate on the general chat. We're going to have some fun on the flip side. I'm putting that link in the description of the episode. Let me make sure I didn't miss anybody. I don't think we did. Let's see here. Stowe Stoop says, Frank, good Monday. Just super chat because why the heck not? Hope all are well. Same with you and the wonderful family. Jeff Lamb says, great show, Frank. Well, thank you, Jeff. Ladies and gentlemen, before you go, hit the like button. If you are watching this after the fact, leave a comment on anything that you thought was good, bad, whatever. I don't care. Leave a comment. It's good. Good comments, I think, work out better. Hey, Frank, had a great time. I don't agree on so-and-so. Hey, Frank, you look great. Thanks for everything. So a like and a comment and share it around, and all the best to you guys. I'll see you tomorrow night, 7 o'clock. We've got a great guest that'll be coming on, and then I'm going to be making some time for your calls. Maybe I can even drag Cultivate Elevate on for something. I want to ask him a couple of questions, but we'll see. Be another cozy night in November. Have a good one, and I'll catch you on the flip.
I'll catch you on the flip side.
When I fall in love. Thank you, everybody. This show was filmed before a live studio audience. And now our super chatters starring Stowe Stoob, Jeff Lamb, Jeannie, Jay Britz, Eli P, Sapphire Blue, Running on Empty, Kevin Paulina, and A. Tubbin. It's great to have you guys. Thank you to our Rumble ranters. That is We and Jay Semo and Tommy Jekyll and Grandma Grateful and Kiss Chaos. You've been fantastic. I'm going to love down all the people on Pilled. Let's get those gold pills up to 10,000 tonight, shall we? I'll be right there in a second, guys and gals. Check your chat room and click that link. Come to the flip side.
Goodbye.
All right, that's it. Thanks, everybody.